Thanks for tuning into this Wednesday edition of the OTRS Central Q&A. Reminder again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Q&A episodes here on OTRS Central. You want your questions answered in future Q&A videos, check out the information on how to do so in the description box, as well as go look at the new Facebook page for the show. That link is in the description box. Follow the show on Twitter at OTRS Central. Check out my latest article at profootballspot.com. All of that information, as well as my other YouTube channel, which deals with things not pertaining to professional wrestling, all of that is found in the description box below. Thanks to all of you submitting your questions for this Q&A. Let's get started at A_Inyahosa. Do you think WWE asked Big E to talk like a black preacher, or do you think he did it himself? I don't know. I thought there was some irony there with a black man beating down a guy dressed like Abraham Lincoln. That might have been a Big E thing. That might have been the WWE saying, fuck it, give it a shot. I'm not really sure. At BW Roses, what are your thoughts on TNA bringing back the six-sided ring in New York City? It kind of is whatever. I mean, I see why they will want to bring it back. To me, it seems like it's way too late to do so. I could see the arguments against bringing it back as well. I'm kind of ambivalent towards it at this point. If TNA feels it'll help them establish an identity and go in a new direction, then I'm for it. If not, and it's just going to be the same type of crap, then why bother? And what are your thoughts on GFW's deal with New Japan? I still have concerns about whether Global Force Wrestling is actually about wrestling in the wrestling business, or it is an excuse for Karen and Jeff Jarrett to get more attention on themselves. And I haven't received that full answer yet. At Alberto Baki 1, if Chris Benoit was still alive, do you think he would eventually challenge The Undertaker at WrestleMania? I don't think so. I don't know how much money there would have been to be made with that match, frankly. Let the Chris Benoit lovers sit there and blast away at me on the keyboard, but I'm serious. I'm just not sure there was that much money. I think there was more money in Edge Taker, and then Shawn Michaels Taker, and Shawn Michaels Taker again, and then Triple H Taker, Triple H Taker, and then Punk Taker, and then even Lesnar Taker. So I don't know how much money there was to really make in comparison to the other matches that they had. At Dante King 12, in their primes, who would you build a team around, Kobe or LeBron? Maybe LeBron. Maybe LeBron. Because maybe his skill set is a little bit more well-suited to have a team built around him. But then you could say Kobe Bryant in his prime, when he actually learned what it took to truly be a champion, had more of that killer instinct than a LeBron James ever consistently possesses. So I guess it's a matter of perspective. At the Den Sidron, do you think WCW beat themselves more than WWF beat WCW? I think there's a lot to be said about that. They're the ones that spent themselves into a bad position. They're the ones that let so many young talents go to the WWF to become big stars. They're the ones that brought Vince Russo in and gave him free reign to run amok. They did a lot of things that hurt themselves more so than just what the WWF did. At the end of the day, let's keep in mind that even if WCW was doing a 5 rating with Nitro and let's say a 2.5 or 3 rating with Thunder every single week in 2001 with that AOL Time Warner merger, there's still no guarantee that WCW would exist to this day. Just keep that in mind. And Mr. Pio 1, should WWE bring back King of the Ring now that they got the WWE Network? You goddamn right they should. This pay-per-view, in my opinion, should have never went away because it served a clear purpose. It was there to establish at least one guy as a future big-time player, maybe in the next 12 to 24 months. I know they have money in the bank now, but I still think there's room for a King of the Ring in the pay-per-view schedule. I really, truly do. At Kuda Charumba, thoughts on LeBron opting out of his contract and if he's leaving Miami for good? I actually did a video about this yesterday on the youtube.com/SlugDaddyTV channel. Go to that channel, subscribe, and check out that video where I talk about his opting out, whether he's going to leave Miami or not, what it means for him, the Heat, the NBA as a whole. All those thoughts are there. So check that out. You like that? At Dexter C73, how will the WWE compensate the wrestlers for the loss of pay-per-view revenue due to the WWE Network? Who's to say that they do? And WWE's in a position where they're the biggest show in town, and they have a lot of leverage, and the wrestlers, unfortunately, have very little. So as a result, if they really don't want to compensate for the loss of the pay-per-view revenue, they probably won't. And I don't think this is going to be a good year for them to compensate for that loss of pay-per-view revenue with them needing to cut millions of dollars out of the budget. I'm not sure how they're going to compensate for that, and I'm not sure they're going to right away. At Lucid LJ, if you had to suck off Triple H to get into the Breakfast Club, would you? And I'm not trolling. No. No. Let's not get too carried away. No, I would not. At Antonio Vargas 01, what were your thoughts on Sarah Palin as a Republican candidate for the vice presidency in 2008? It was bad enough that Maverick McCain, the neocon warhawk who had a history of compromise and bipartisanship and being a principled man, sat there and somehow inexplicably in 2008 took a turn to the far right, completely going away from who he was to begin with. Then apparently he allowed somebody to get in his ear and say, hey, let's bring that little lady governor from Alaska, don't you know, into the mix. Boy, that energized the conservative base to no end for about a week. I think this was one of these things where the Republican Party thought that with Bush and Cheney and Karl Rove into the mix as the strategist, they had the ability with those two elections to be able to turn out white evangelical voters in great numbers, and they knew that that was not necessarily going to be the case in 08 with McCain. So they were trying to do something to breach that, or bridge that gap, if you will, and reach back out to those evangelical conservatives. And Sarah Palin, they thought, was the individual. And it was also a chance to say, hey, we might not have a black guy on the ticket, but we got a woman on the ticket, so we believe in diversity too. Unfortunately, we soon found out what a joke Sarah Palin was, what a joke Sarah Palin is, and what a joke Sarah Palin will always be. I can see Russia from here. Oh, God. What papers do you read? Which ones? All of them. Oh, my God. It was also a chance, too, for the Republican Party to potentially sit there and introduce Sarah Palin on the grand national stage with maybe 2012 or more so maybe 2016 in mind. There were a lot of reasons and none of them good. I thought it was hilarious, and I still think it's hilarious to this day. I think it's even more hilarious that there are actually people that like her. That's Cyanide Rain. Do you believe Raw would be better if bits of Sid's promo and Sid's injury were shown at the beginning of every show? You're fucking A right. I mean, every week that would put me in such a good mood to sit there and see Sid going, you know and I know that you are half the man that I am, and I have half the brain that you do. And then you saw him with his death-defying leap off of the second rope. Every week I would start off in a good mood. It would probably take me half an hour to an hour to come down off of the buzz. So yes, they should. They should make the entire intro Sid related, in my opinion. At SA Wrestling Blog. Have you gotten into the World Cup at all this year? No. And the reason I haven't is because I'm an American that doesn't like soccer. And I don't sit there every 4 years and pretend to like soccer and pretend to care about American soccer and pretend to care about the World Cup. A lot of these people that are talking about soccer like it's some great patriotic thing, as soon as the World Cup is over and the U.S. will, of course, be eliminated early, they will sit there and go back to not giving a fuck about American soccer until 2018. No, I haven't got into it, and no, I don't care. Soccer's not my sport. I don't care. Personally, I think it's a very boring sport to watch on television. Oh my God, 90 minutes plus the stoppage time for a 0-0 tie. What great, outstanding football action this was. Not my thing. At Bauer 24 Power, do you think, even though it was probably unintended, that the Edge Vicky angle was disrespectful to Eddie Guerrero? No. No, I mean, because if we're going to say that, you had that whole stupid crap between Eddie and Rey Mysterio in 2005 involving Dominic. You know, so that involved a family thing, and this here was a different thing. I don't think it was disrespectful to Eddie Guerrero at all. In fact, it was probably respectful. The fact that his wife and his family were being taken care of after he was gone to such a degree, to a point where she was one of the featured performers on television. I think that was respectful, not disrespectful. And at Larkin _ finishes out this Q&A session. Of all the new talent Cena has buried over the years, which one hurt WWE the most in the killing of a possible new star? Now that is the $64,000 question, isn't it? That is the question that I will end this Q&A on. I will pose that question to you out there. This is a great question. What talent has Cena buried over the years that hurt the WWE the most in the killing of a possible new star? People are going to throw out Wade Barrett. People are going to throw out Damian Sandow. People are going to throw out Alex Riley, and so on and so on and so forth and so forth. And I think there are a lot of names that you could throw into that list and into that category. But the question is, which one's the biggest? That's what I want to know from you. Thanks again to all of you that submitted your questions for this Q&A. Again, if you want to know how to do so in the future, check out the description box down below with all the details on how to do so. I'll be back with another Q&A Friday. In the meantime, check out some of the other great content here on OTRS Central.